Entertalk Radio, you're in to all things music.
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Happy Friday, everybody. You are tuned to May the Best Brand Win Holiday Edition on Entertalk Radio, the undisputed leader on Music Biz Talk. I am Scott Robertson, and a man who earlier today was, in fact, singing in the rain. And, of course, with me on the air today is a man that's trying to stay dry down by Miramar Air Force Base in San Diego. Paul B. How's it going, Paul?
Okay. I did not do a very good job of staying dry. I got caught out there in the rain. I got pretty wet, and I was a little miserable. Not singing.
You know, California, we lose our mind when there's rain. When I first moved from St. Louis to Los Angeles, my wife and I used to just laugh out loud when we would see like the news anchors would go out and like they would cover the rain as if that was a story.
It's a news story.
Yeah, and they would stand there and they would have like a reporter standing in the rain going, "I'm standing in the rain and it's falling all around me. I'll tell you, there are drops falling from the sky. It is amazing. It is really incredible. Storm watch. You know what?" And then they would interview people, and I swear to God, they would say, "So, what are you going to do about the rain? There's all this water coming from the sky. What are you planning to do?" And the person was like, "I plan to wear a light poncho and an umbrella." I mean, I don't.
Same thing with me. I moved here from the Northeast, and it was, and then people lose all like driving capabilities too in the rain. Apparently, that also drives me crazy. But I think I'm slowly turning into one of them.
You stay here long enough, you become assimilated. It's like the Borg.
Exactly.
Star Trek.
Resistance is futile.
Resistance is futile. Well, cool. Well, if you have a question for me, you can email me at scott@robertsoncom.com, and I will answer anything right here on the big show. You can also find my posts, my client news clips, other stuff that I'm doing at my Robertson.com Facebook page, which is facebook.com/RobertsonCom, or Twitter @RobertsonCom. Just reach out and connect with me. I'm out there posting stuff all the time, client clips and just fun, goofy things that I find in the world of marketing that sort of annoy me. And then I usually pick those up and cover them on the show. So this show, which is my last of 2016, because, well, let's face it, I'm going on vacation. So this is the last one I'm going to do, and this is episode 38, and I call it 2016 Marketing in Review. You know, another year has gone by, and really, what has marketing learned? Probably not very much. But, we still have hope, and we still believe that the rest of them out there will catch up to us and start doing better marketing in the new year. So we're going to do a little recap show here. We're going to discuss some of the stories and trends that shaped 2016 from a marketing perspective. And we're going to look at who's, getting their very last wins and loses and losses logged for 2016. Aside from my Los Angeles Rams, who lost on Thursday Night Football last night to the very, very neon 80s looking Seattle Seahawks. That was a weird game. That was a really weird game. We won't discuss that, but I'm just saying that was a weird game. Anyway, join me for this lovely look at 2016. So if you're going to talk about 2016, the year that was, it was a crazy year, right? I mean, a lot of crazy stuff happened. So why don't we start by doing that? Let's just, we had, in March, we had new relationships going on with Cuba. In April, we lost Prince. In June, we had the Brexit. In July, all we could talk about was Black Lives Matter. In August, we had the Olympics. Then there was the introduction of the iPhone 7 in September. Of course, all throughout, we were talking about electing a new president, and in on October and November. October and November was all about the election, and certainly November was all about Trump. And I don't know what December is about. Maybe Star Wars? With new Rogue One coming out. I'm going to see it. Looks like a good movie. Man, what a crazy year, though. What a crazy year. And from a marketing perspective, that's really what's going on. That was what's going on story-wise, kind of the dominant stories. But, we had some trends that we can look at in marketing. One of those is definitely mobile. All the data in the world shows that people are experiencing more content and communication through mobile than ever before. And you really can't talk about mobile too much, too far without talking about Snapchat. And Snapchat really had themselves a year. I mean, really, amazing, traffic, amazing amount of, views on the little app that could here, which really started as, an app where you would have self-destructing content. But now what's interesting, just from today, I saw a story that said that Snapchat's video traffic has now caught up with Facebook's video traffic. Impressive, considering the fact that Facebook has over 1 billion users and Snapchat doesn't have near that many. But Snapchat's video traffic has surged to 8 billion daily views from 7 billion at the beginning of the year. So that's an extra billion daily views that they're getting now, and it's more than 5 times the number that the company counted a year ago. So that's crazy, right? The fact that the growth of Snapchat is really something to watch. Again, always kind of known as the disappearing messaging app. They rocketed from 6 billion daily views to 2 billion. So they rocketed all the way from 6 billion from 2 billion of June and November last year, according to the report in the Financial Times. Now valued at 16 billion with a B dollars, the 5-year-old Snapchat clocks in at number 5 on Fortune's list of unicorn tech startups, which are private firms that are valued at 1 billion or more. Anyway, pretty fascinating. They've got some hardware products coming out with their new goggles. They're sort of Snapchat, Google Glass, type of thing. Definitely, as we've talked about many, many times on this show, absolutely one to watch. Absolutely one to watch. So keep watching. But mobile in particular, and really you can't talk about mobile without, obviously without talking about Snapchat, but you also you have to talk about Instagram, which is owned by your friend and theirs, Facebook. And Facebook, owns Instagram, and everybody's just wondering whether, you're seeing some good, if you're a marketer on Instagram, you're seeing some good organic traffic. In other words, you're reaching the people that follow you on the platform to a certain extent, much more so than you see on other social platforms. But what you're going to see in 2017, just to give you a spoiler alert, is the fact that organic traffic is going to drop off, and Instagram is going to start finding ways to make people pay for it because they're owned by Facebook, and that's what Facebook does. So just watch for that to happen. Another trend that we watched as marketers in 2016 was really much more growth of influencer marketing. Now, as I did a whole show on influencer marketing, and I encourage you to go check that show out because I'm told it was brilliant. I have no idea what was on it, but people have told me that they really enjoyed that show. And, it wasn't just my family members. Usually it's just my family members, but I actually got a few comments from people who were outside the family, and they enjoyed that show. But influencers is interesting. As a public relations person, influencer marketing has been around for a long, long time. But one of the more interesting things that are going on with influencer marketing, and just so you know, just so we're on the same quick page on influencers, that's where you work with, and a lot of big brands are paying people who have captured a large online audience, either on YouTube or Instagram or Snapchat or anything like that. They're paying them to talk about their products, which most people say, celebrity endorsement, or endorsement. Right. But we also discussed, some of the pitfalls of, endorsement without disclosure is sort of a trick to the consumer. And the government's not going to be, if the government finds out that that's going on, they're going to get angry, and they'll be all over marketing for that. They're going to be all over marketing for that anyway. But, you just want to make sure that you're not anywhere near that whole storm when that's all happening. One of the interesting things I saw about influencer marketing, especially as looking forward in influencer marketing, is the fact that influencers could possibly save Twitter. Basically, a lot of people think that, basically Twitter's pending acquisition by Microsoft or by LinkedIn, is so far a non-event. It might completely wipe the platform out from influencer marketing platform race. But this Twitter moment feed that they have done, which kind of feeds the curated news for many audiences, and a lot of celebrities like the Twitter moments thing, that could be a real interesting thing for influencer marketing moving forward. And could also, a lot of people say could save Twitter and give it sort of a differentiated look and a differentiated piece in the social media universe. Fun. Another trend that we saw was the rise of the fake news, right? A lot of talk about the fake news going on. And Facebook actually just announced very recently that they're going to start flagging things as fake news. When they get enough, there's obviously some criteria about what they're going to do, and they'll start to flag things to say, hey, this story may be fake, or a large percentage of our readers think this is fake, that kind of thing. Personally, I think you could flag the entire feed of CNN and go, fake and biased and just looks like it was paid for, through my eyes, especially during their political coverage, was so ridiculously biased to one side that it was like, there's got to be a revenue stream. There's just got to be. Nobody's that passionate, and journalists sure as hell shouldn't be. And I've said that many times. But it'd be interesting to see what happens with CNN stories and the fake news. I noticed they've backed off a lot of that ever since the election ended, and they're trying to get back and go, oh, that's right, we're supposed to be an outlet of journalism here in the world. Another trend that we saw, and that hopefully we will continue to see, is I personally believe that the age of interruption marketing is ending. The age where marketing said, okay, our message, we're paying for stuff, and our message, we're just going to throw it in there as an interruption, as a commercial, as a banner ad in front of the thing that you want to see, that kind of thing. Marketing, has found many different ways to sort of interrupt us from what we're wanting to do. But you're starting to see, and I hope we see a lot more of marketers that say, wait a minute, we can do stuff that is, good enough to be, the stuff that people want, as long as we just we can, hold back the enthusiasm for selling at every turn. And really, this is known as kind of what I like to call attraction versus interruption marketing. You're starting to see more of a bias towards attraction, and I think it's a great thing. Believe me, myself, and folks like Seth Godin, and folks that are putting some different kind of thinking towards marketing these days, are definitely on the attraction side of things, and thinking that the interruption side of things is going to go away. One of the reasons the interruption thing is going to completely go away in the coming years is the fact that consumers just have so many good blocking mechanisms. There are so many, ad blockers in place. There are so many ways to skip commercials. There are so many ways to get around things, that you don't want to see. And when it comes to email and things like that, you can just flat out block the email address of the offending party. So, I think you're going to see, one thing that we saw this year, we're starting to see more attraction versus interruption. And, I'll be covering that a lot more in 2017 as we see that, and pointing out to you examples of folks that are doing stuff to attract. One other trend that I wanted to mention was the backlash against politically correct and sort of filtered communications. This has been going for a long time, but you can really see it in the rise of your next president of the United States, Donald J. Trump. This is a guy who doesn't have a filter. And, just follow his Twitter feed. He's out there tweeting about, there was a magazine, Vanity Fair, I think, didn't like one of his restaurants. And he's won the election. He's doing his transition stuff. But like in a meeting, he's like, furiously tweeting what a bunch of buttheads Vanity Fair is for trashing his, his restaurant. First of all, there needs to be like a constitutional amendment that says that the president shouldn't tweet. I mean, I'm a fan of a lot of things that Donald Trump, did in his campaign. Not a fan of some of the other things he did too. But I think a lot of people will say, regardless of the fact, he was very different and very, real. What you see is what you get with that guy, and to the detriment of probably his PR team, who's probably just like wants to block that Twitter feed from going out. Got to say, but you're starting to see a backlash against against the politically correct elements of our society. Watch carefully. You can start to see it. You can start to see people go, wait a minute, we've gotten too politically correct. We've gotten to where we can't offend anybody and we can't do this. And I believe you're going to see some brands that intentionally are going to really start stepping on that line in 2017. They're going to be like, if you don't like it, there's the door. Don't let it, hit you where the good Lord split you, So I think it's this backlash, you're going to see it. You're going to see it, and you're going to see some brands that are brave and that will participate in the backlash. You're going to see it led from the president of the United States, because the guy is not, there's no filter on his communications, which can be dangerous, certainly, but no doubt that the politically correct age may be coming to an end, which I think is kind of good too. And I certainly think that some of the the pendulum just swung a little bit too far in the politically correct side, and then just everything was safe, and then you can't have nothing's funny if it's safe. It's got to have a little bit of edge if things are going to be funny and entertaining. Another trend that we continue to see is, the death of print media versus digital. I did read an interesting story that said that engagement with print was 38% higher than you saw with digital when they did a newspaper study. And I think that's fascinating because there won't be more people reading digital, but they're also skimming and fleeting and gone and, ADD and all that kind of fun stuff. So it's really, really important when you a lot of people say, oh, print's dead, I'm not going to be any part of print. But that's not actually true. It just sounds good. It's not true for every audience, certainly. So, it was a crazy year. That was some of the trends that shaped the year that was. Come on back. We're going to talk about who's winning and losing, who won and lost in 2016, and who's winning and losing all the way up to this week on May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. We'll see you for segment 2 in a few minutes.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Entertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Hey, it's Tracy Smith
and Beth Venus
of Girls Talk Rock right here on the Entertalk Radio Network.
Every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific.
Okay, Beth, they know that, but we want you to know that the industry pro's choice is Silver Tiger Production.
SDP is a full-service production agency offering sound, lighting, installations, talent buying, staffing, backline equipment rental, and sales. Kapow!
It's everything in the entertainment performance industry. It's all that.
SilverTigerProduction.com.
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Happy Friday, everybody. You are back for segment 2 of May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Radio, the undisputed leader on music biz talk. I am still Scott. We are hanging out, reviewing 2016 in review with Paul B. in the studio. How's it going, Paul?
Good, and ready for this year to be over. This just won't stop sucking.
It's like, goodbye, 2016. It's been weird. Thank you so much.
I hope it doesn't just keep getting worse.
You never know. Heck, you know, I always have hope. I got an email from somebody, by the way, that said, you always call your segment winning and losing, but it seems like everybody's losing.
That's true.
Well, I went, that's not true. I have an equal number of winning. It's just the losing ones are such monster steps in dog poop that it's
just
like,
stick in your mind.
It like stepping in dog poop. The smell lingers.
Do you really have equal parts? Because I also was under the impression that there's more losers.
No, it's pretty equal, honestly. I mean, I don't try to make it is what it is, but the I think the losing ones just make a little bit more of an impression.
Yeah.
You know, bad news travels.
Everyone loves a loser.
Exactly. Speaking of, I thought I would do my biggest booze of 2016 recap before we get into a few things from this week. So, one that has been no stranger to the winning and losing segment this year has been Samsung and its tremendous product development and battery woes. Man, they want to forget this year. I'll tell you, Samsung wants to forget 2016 ever happened. They have really lost a lot of consumer confidence in their ability to put phones to market. And they definitely get a big boo of 2016, both for for making a bad product, for handling the communications around the recall extremely poorly, and for going forward and not even really having a discussion about all the stuff that went wrong before deciding to go forward and start marketing the Samsung Galaxy 8 or what have you. And to which the consumers are thinking, so how do we know this one's not going to explode? How do we know? That kind of thing. So they get a big boo for a lot of reasons. You could do a case study. You could do an entire class on Samsung and what they did wrong this year. But I'm sure they're hoping for a better 2017. Another one in that category got to be Wells Fargo. Man, oh man, oh man. I call it Wells Fargo and the non-apology apology. So, all of us should learn from Wells Fargo. That is one of the worst handling of a national crisis communications I've ever seen before in my entire career. First of all, they were unclear about what the situation was. I think they actually put out different statements about, we're laying off or we're firing 5,000 employees. And then the journalists raise their hand and go, so why are you firing them? Oh, because, they opened up some accounts and they opened up some accounts they shouldn't have done and that kind of thing, making it seem like it was all the employees. And then we come to find out it's like incentivized and it's this whole corrupt culture that's built around the idea of if you open up as many accounts you can for people, then you get, bonuses and that kind of stuff. And we just, as you start peeling the onion, journalism term, you start peeling the onion on the story, you realize it's stinky, man. There's a lot of problems going on at Wells Fargo. And then the worst thing they did was the way they decided to apologize for their actions was to, they basically took out full page ads in the New York Times and did some flashy corporate ads that said, we're Wells Fargo, and we understand that you might not trust us anymore, and we understand that we've behaved badly, and I was kind of saying, and it's like, I'm Troy McClure. We know we screwed you over, but hey, you know what? We're a big bank, and honestly, there's only 5 of us, so what the hell are you going to do about it? So it's like it was the worst apology, worst period apology period ever period. Terrible apology. Never apologize with an ad. What's the matter with you? It's like their corporate communications team didn't go to corporate communications school. Anyway, awful. Can't talk about awful in 2016 without talking about Chipotle. Holy crap. So many problems with Chipotle. They were just ranked as one of the top food stories of 2016, even though their problems, were happening at the beginning of the year. They just dominated food conversations about, and I mentioned them many, many times on this show. Great example of, they like apologized and then closed all the restaurants down and had meetings about hygiene and discussed all these kind of things. And they didn't really know what was causing, all the food, sickness related incidents at their restaurants. I mean, just a discombobulated mess from start to finish, gotta say. And a lot of people's faith really shaken in the brand. And of course, this is a brand that's owned by McDonald's, right? And McDonald's knows how to handle a corporate communications, crisis. They handle them all the time, and they contain them, and they apologize appropriately, and everything else. And this is a division of McDonald's, so it is kind of surprising that they didn't lend some of McDonald's awesome corporate communications staff to Chipotle to deal with this whole project. And my last big boo before we get into this week and all the fun of this week, some winning and losing this week, is that I really think that journalism, took a real big step backwards in 2016. We mentioned about CNN earlier, but maybe it was just a presidential election that sort of brings out the worst in our coverage. But man, did journalism do some stuff that journalism shouldn't do. And in case you're wondering, you're like, well, Scott, why are you so, what gives you the right to be critical of journalism? So PR works alongside journalism. It is in our best interest, our strategic interest for our continuing health of our profession, that journalists are believed and have credibility. If they lose that credibility, PR profession is going to have to go look for something else. We unapologetically, work with journalists in order to get that kind of credibility transfer to audiences. It's called earned media. You earn your way on there, and you earn your way into the story. And what you want at the end of the day is that credibility and trust. And that's definitely still there. But man, if journalism keeps up like it is, it's going to be a lot tougher. And it's going to be a lot harder to make a case to a client that they should invest in public relations if people aren't going to believe the media at the end of the day. I mean, I wouldn't. So I think that's important. Okay, let's get to this week. Those are my big boos, my losers for the year. But it might not matter because NASA scientists say the Earth is overdue for an extinction level event. This story came out this week. It says Earth is due for an extinction level event from the sky. Even if we don't see it coming, or even if we see it coming, we won't be able to do anything about it, said NASA Monday. What a positive press conference that must have been. I mean, hey, even if we see it, man, I don't know. Just get under a desk and kiss your butt goodbye, I suppose. So what they said was this week that large asteroids and comets, the type that could wipe out, civilization, are extremely rare, but tend to hit 50 to 60 million years apart. Given that a comet wiped out the dinosaurs 65 million years ago, one could argue that we're slightly past due. So none of that's really going to matter. I got to say, that if we're overdue for this, of course, let's be honest. When you're talking about in increments of millions of years, our lifetimes are sort of a blink in the eye of that. So, maybe we still have at least enough time to finish a run of this show. I at least want to get to 100 episodes. I'd love to at least make it to 100 episodes before the extinction level event happens. Because then you go into syndication and the big bucks start rolling in. Everybody knows that. You get to that 100th episode, and then your show. Oh wait! I'm just getting this in my ear. Oh, there's no royalties. There's nothing like that that's going to happen here. Just so you know. All right. We already talked a little bit about this, but Facebook is winning this week because they've heard their users' complaints, and they're going to start putting warning labels on the fake news. I mentioned that a little bit in the year in review about the fake news trend. So here's what's going to go on. They are going to put what's called a flag on it. So below the headline, there'll be a red label on the story that says disputed by third-party fact checkers. And then users will be able to click on a learn why this is disputed link to get more information. Now, Facebook will not be doing the fact checking itself, right? Because they don't want to be, as Zuckerberg said, we don't want to be the arbiters of truth because we're Facebook, let's be honest. And instead, we want to rely on our community and trusted third parties. I like it. You know, it is interesting because some of the third parties that are fact checking are pretty solid. The International Fact Checking Code of Principles, which was Poynter, a journalism organization, recently put that out there, and there's several organizations of the world that adopt those principles that will be kind of digging in, kind of like Wikipedia. You know, Wikipedia is kind of a self-policing community, so they kind of want to bring that into Facebook. All right, losing this week, Yahoo sets a hack record at 1 billion accounts hacked. The company said Wednesday that it was hit by another hacking attack, and this time affecting more than 1 billion user accounts. And every time that happens, I'm like, how are there a billion Yahoo accounts in 2016? I can't imagine. I'm pretty sure I don't have one. Maybe a bunch of people have one and they don't realize it. That could happen. That could definitely happen. Anyway, a billion. So we got to put them in the losing column because, man, the bad news just keeps on rolling. And if you have a Yahoo account that you haven't used in a long time, you might have been one of the ones that hacked. You probably are, because I bet the totality of their records is at 1 billion. So you may want to check all those old, accounts that you got floating around there. All right. Also, winning this week. See, there's winning. Winning this week, the NFL, who's usually losing, gotta say. But they have revised their rather short-sighted social media policies. And because in October, I'll just remind you of the story. In October, and I believe we covered it here, the NFL announced a new policy to more tightly control its team's use of social media, looking for excess posting of video content, yada, yada, yada. And, of course, video posting is heavily regulated during games and blah, blah, blah. And they were fining people fines up to $100,000 and loss of rights to content shared by the NFL. Now, what changed? NFL ratings are down in 2016. Monday Night Football ratings are down a quarter. Sunday Night Football, Thursday Night Football are down slightly lower, but double digits. Television rights to NFL games are a multi-billion-dollar business. The sustained ratings decline could definitely harm the league. So a lot of the blame has been placed on social media. Twitter, Facebook, rise of video on these platforms. Fans don't really need to watch the entire game on television. They can just learn about the most exciting moments of the game, through devices of their choice. Now, here's what I said at the beginning. If you're going to start, if I'm a fan, and I'm a Rams fan, I know. Now, I'm a Rams fan. If I'm in Los Angeles, I'm at the Coliseum, and I'm posting about that team, right, then that's, promotion of the NFL and the Los Angeles Rams to my fan base, something that you probably can't get without me, right? Influencer marketing, anyone? And so by limiting and fining people and that kind of thing, it's like saying, not only do we not want you to promote us, but we're going to come after you if you do. It's dumb. It's flat out dumb. In this world that we live in today, anybody that wants to promote you, you let them, you make it easy for them, you back away, that sort of thing. You may need to look at your antiquated television rules and realize, like they say in The Lord of the Rings, the world has changed, Frodo. You know what I mean? So you might want to check it out and get in touch with that whole thing. But I'm going to put them in winning because they revised these short-sighted social media policies, and now they're loosening the reins a bit, which I think is going to help people promote the teams a little more, the season a little bit more. It's over for the Rams, but there's a lot of teams that are going to this thing called the NFL playoffs. I'm told it's a wonderful time of year for teams that have a winning record. I'm really looking forward to someday the Rams having one of those so I could stick around and be involved in the whole thing they call the playoffs. I think it'd be a great thing to be involved in. Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is losing. She was dropped as the UN ambassador. So the UN decided they wanted to use the character as, an honorary ambassador for the empowerment of women and girls by the United Nations to raise awareness of gender equality and empowerment of women and girls. There you go. Now a few weeks later, they've decided that Wonder Woman is not the right ambassador. And the fierce criticism of the comic image, I love the way that they wrote this. A well-endowed white woman in a racy costume may have led to its hasty expiration. I think that's the best description of Wonder Woman I've ever heard in my entire life. Oh, man, that's too funny. Oh, man. But anyway, so the UN, a few weeks after they said that we're going to make Wonder Woman our ambassador, and they had Linda Carter, who played Wonder Woman in the 70s TV show, out, to talk about how wonderful that was. And they now they had to dump her. I'm going to put the UN in the losing category because I don't think you ever want to do anything in this culture. You don't want to do anything that's too anti-superheroes, right? Superheroes kind of permeate our culture. And, here's my question as a marketer. You have a program, you're going to roll it out. You're the United Nations, right? The communications side of things are the United Nations. You're going to use Wonder Woman. So obviously you've thought it through. You've done some research. You've got the license, which can't be a cheap license, by the way. It's got to be a lot of money getting that from DC Comics. There's a Wonder Woman feature film coming out, so they're watching their trademarks and their licensing of Wonder Woman, like a hawk. So here's my thing. How did you not know that was going to be some of the criticism? And how are you so spineless to not stand up to the criticism? Remember I talk about bravery, courage when it comes to your marketing? Usually it's not creativity. It's another C word that is really, really important to marketing. It's usually the word that starts with a C and ends with urge. So, it doesn't sound like the UN has any of that. And after dumping Wonder Woman, and I'm going to put them in the losing category because Wonder Woman's great, and they should have been able to stand up to it. That's what I'm saying. That's who's winning and losing for the year and for this week. On May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. Come on back for segment 3. I'm going to give you 5 tips to be better at marketing in the new year. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Entertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Girls are talking rock again.
And people are listening.
Today we're talking bands.
Let's talk promotion. Red Giant Promo, graphics, EPKs, video, photos, social media, and brand building using content marketing.
But let's talk studio at CCMA, which is events, rehearsal, tour prep, piano, guitar, voice, rock band, lessons, workshops, and clinics. Yeah!
Both proud sponsors of Girls Talk Rock.
Well, get the lowdown on these services and contact me, Tracy, at girlstalkrock.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al DiMeola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Happy Friday. You are tuned to May the Best Brand Win Holiday Edition on Entertalk Radio, the undisputed leader on Music Biz Talk. I am Scott. We just covered who was winning and losing for the year and for the week. Paul B., what do you got to say?
I got nothing.
What'd you like?
I was actually training our intern, so I wasn't listening that closely. I'm sorry.
I don't know what you're doing over there.
I can't take any more loser talk. It's so depressing. Nobody knows what they're doing. There are no adults out there. I thought there are adults around the world, but it's just not true.
It's just big people in different clothes,
just big babies.
Yeah, big babies out there. Well, good then. On a personal note, we've been doing this show since the beginning of 2016, and we're up to 38 episodes, and it has been a lot of fun. I mean, I'm having a blast. My therapist notices all kinds of changes in my behavior for the better, just being able to get on the air and vent is a very positive thing. Hope you're digging it out there and learning a few things as well. And on that note, we are at segment 3, where I like to give you, the listening audience, a few tips. So I wanted to call this 5 tips to be better next year. We know a lot of marketing mistakes were made in 2016. We discussed a lot of those and a lot of the trends that were sort of shaping our world. And now we want to talk about, that's great, that's 2016, but when the band plays Old Lang Syne, coming up here on the 31st at midnight, it's time to be better at marketing, right? And here's 5 tips for you that can help you on your way. Number 1, think first and then communicate. Think it through and then communicate it. We see mistakes like this all the time that come from, not having a plan, not having things well researched, not understanding what is the UN one, Wonder Woman that we just talked about. Think it through first and then communicate it. I have new business prospects that contact me, and they're so eager to communicate. They're so eager. And I'm always in that first meeting, I call it the settle down meeting. And it's like, let's settle down. Let's figure, yes, we're going to have a wonderful, social media stream. Yes, we'll produce some wonderful videos, or we're going to do some fantastic public relations. But let's bring it back and let's figure out what our plan is. What is our strategy? How are we approaching this? What is, do we have some real human thought around this? Have we thought about the contingencies when it goes south? When you decide to communicate, you're taking a risk. There's no risk if you just sit here quietly. If you just sit quietly with your hands folded, you don't have the risk. But the minute that you open your mouth, you've already decided to take a risk. And as a lot of businesses have found out, you need to be prepared for all the contingencies around that risk. Very, very important. That's why I talk about research a lot. I know research isn't sexy. It is not. It is when you're sitting in a room, and it's not, you're not on the Today Show, hanging out, with Kathy Lee and Hoda and seeing, who can get more drunk. You're not doing that. You're in a room sitting, in front of a computer screen. Usually you're talking to people, who use the product. You're analyzing things. You're doing that research. To be a great marketer, you have to be a bit of a great analyst. You have to be a bit of a great, so you have to have that curiosity. One of the shows earlier this year, we talked about the balance between sort of being a mad scientist and a mad creative artist. the scientist and the artist are always sort of at war and a good marketer. And the science part is the thinking it through. When you're Disney and you decide to take the Epcot Center, the big spaceship Earth ball, and make it into the Death Star, marketing says, "Oh, just put a big green laser on it. What could possibly happen?" Well, the Death Star is a symbol of evil. It is a symbol of oppression. It is also a symbol of death. The word death is before the word star on there. So, you might not want to take your happiest place on earth icon and replace it with the damn Death Star. That's what I'm going to say. That's a fantastic example of a little policy I like to call, just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? Just because you can doesn't mean you should. There are a lot of things you can do. I sit in I can meetings all the time with people going, well, we can do this and we can, have Kim Kardashian, hold it up in her Instagram. But should you? The should part is really important. It's missing a lot, ladies and gentlemen. There's not nearly enough should we going on. There's plenty of can we. There's not nearly enough should we going on. Please, I beg of you in the new year, think things through before you communicate. Number 2, if your brand makes a mistake, and you might, honestly, it's the big brands, it's a complicated world. Sometimes you make mistakes. People make mistakes. And then when you get lots of people together in a building, coming together and drinking coffee and having cake parties, those people make mistakes together too. That happens. Admit it. Apologize. Correct it and move on. Admit it, apologize, correct the mistake, and move on. How many of our big boo-boos of 2016 did we see miss that logic? Either, wouldn't admit it for a long time. I mean, that's always going to end badly. Not apologizing or not apologizing correctly. By the way, when I say apologize, I do not mean running an ad in the New York Times. Seriously, that's awful. No. When I say apologize, I mean the brand goes out, maybe talks to the press, talks to its influencers, talks to its stakeholders, releases some kind of a statement, does something that, has an element of dialogue and vulnerability to it where people can sort of understand the perspective. Then you correct the mistake. Don't be like Chipotle and say, hey, we got this whole thing handled. And then, a week later, people are still getting sick at the restaurant. Correct the mistake. There's a holiday commercial running right now with Samsung that shows their virtual reality, right? And they're clipping these phones into the virtual reality thing that people are looking through. You couldn't pay me enough money to put a Samsung phone near my ocular sockets, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, I've seen what they did to a Jeep. I'm sure as hell not going to put them next to my eyes. They never explained how they corrected the problem. So I don't have any trust in that brand until they can reliably bring a product to market and not end up in my news feed quite so much for these horrific mistakes. Correcting the problem is really important. And then moving on is really important too. You do want to move on after a certain period of time and say, hey, we made a mistake. We're moving on to something else. What can I tell you? If you ever look at any NFL press conferences, that's typically what they say. The losing coach gets on and says, we made mistakes in this game. This is like minutes after the game's over. So we made these mistakes, this kind of thing, but we're going to put it behind us and we're going to move on, And, they have to do that because they have to play again in like 4 to 7 days. They're going to be back on the field with a brand new opponent and a brand new opportunity to make all kinds of crazy business mistakes. Tip number 3, more communications is never better communications. Okay? You should make a t-shirt that says that. You really should. More is not better in communications. It is not. Every piece of data that you can look at shows that. And plus, just think about it from, I always say that one of the most important things in communications is empathy. This is where you want to turn up your empathy in a big way, big way. If you're the person receiving this, you're asking yourself the question, am I happy to be receiving this? Am I happy to get this? Why am I happy to get this? What is this doing for my life? What is this doing for me? What am I expected to do here? Put yourself in the position of the audience. Most communicators do that sort of naturally, but sometimes we get going on big programs and we sort of forget to do the most basic stuff. And I put that in the most basic stuff category. More, again, is never better. It's always worse. Look for ways. If you could do one thing for your communications, you probably have a long list of stuff. If you're a communicator, you have a long list of stuff that your company sends out, and almost like a checklist of things to do. This is our marketing plan. It's a bunch of things with checklists. Look for things that maybe could go bye-bye. Would anybody miss it if we didn't do this? That kind of thing. Make people miss you a little bit. You know what I mean? You don't have to be in people's face all the time. That comes from our own sort of human needy need to, do stuff, right? But it doesn't always come from a place that this is accomplishing something that the brand needs to accomplish out there. And again, I think there's not enough of that goes on in the marketing profession. I don't think that enough people look at those things and really think, should we be sending this? Is this something we should be sending out? Is this something that, is even appropriate to go out? And a lot of that comes from, the need from the rest of the organization. Oh, well, if we send out more communications, we're going to get more responses. Maybe that is true in a quantity sort of. In a short term, we're only caring about the numbers and it's the short-term sales numbers kind of conversation. There is a point to that. But remember, what business are we in? We're in the long-term relationship business. The way that the brand gets strong, the way that the brand stays strong is by creating the most long-term positive relationships. And you're not going to get those by just sending out more stuff. Instead, take 3 or 4 things that you're sending out, maybe kill 3 of them, take the one and just make it fantastic. What if you put all that time into making one really great piece? Really great piece, imagine what a better world we would have if we had that. It blows me away the amount of spam that my spam checker, my spam catcher catches, and these are companies that are out there playing a numbers game. They've got a sold data list. They got no skin in the game. They're trying to create no relationships, and they're just firing off emails with a hope and a prayer that somebody might actually bounce back. But what they don't understand is that there's no way in hell I would ever do business with a company that's going to spam me because you don't know me. You've made no effort to get to know me, and you're not worth my time. Okay? I get things from folks that say, "Hey, I was on your website, and I think I could help you with leads to your business." What business am I in, folks? So I go. So I bounce back to people like that, and I'm like, "Really? What business am I in? What business am I in?" Yeah. Okay. I'll just let you come to the conclusion that you shouldn't be contacting me on your own if that would work better for you, because it's like, but people don't think. They don't think, and they just send stuff out. It's a big problem. It's an epidemic problem level. And if you are associated with folks that are doing this kind of stuff, or you get contacted with a company that says, "I'll email all the people on LinkedIn and I'll set up appointments for you," and this kind of things, run away from those people. Run away from those people and tell them shame on them. Shame on them for trying to get, you, the LinkedIn user, to give them access to your list so that you could bug those people. And those people are going to leave you. So, they are going to leave you, and it's just like, I shake my head. And when I get stuff like that, I always bounce back to the person. And I'm like, if this wasn't done with your knowledge, then you need to find out. I said, if you hired a company to do this, then you need to talk to me like, somebody on Mars needs to, have an oxygen tank. I mean, seriously, don't do that stuff. Don't do that stuff. Be better than that. We are better than that. The people that listen to this show, that listen to my marketing communications stuff is not equal. There are a bunch of people doing this who have no damn business doing it, to be honest, because they do not think about people before they do it. And that should be a prerequisite, in my opinion. Number 4, again, as we talked about, attraction versus interruption, really try to attract, not to interrupt people. You'll be on the cutting edge of the trend. You'll be on the edge of the trend. That's the trend to come, not the trend that's ending. And I really do think that it would be, it's going to be better, especially just if you have the mindset of how can our stuff attract. And I believe that all stuff, can attract an audience. It may not be, everyone. You may not get everyone. You may not want everyone. Every business is different. You got to look at this is where the marketing part comes in, and you look at who are we trying to attract, who are we trying to communicate with, and why are we trying to do this? And all of those things come together. It is a strategy. It is a systematic group of stuff that comes together to do positive stuff for the organization. Again, it's real important that you attract and not interrupt. And the last tip I would say is marketing is a fun job. It is a fun, exciting, never dull kind of job. Make sure you have some. I know so many people that are in my profession and they're just like, oh man, it's like, you know what? We have a gift, a blessing to do a great job here. So don't forget that. Have fun with it. If you're having fun, your audience is going to have fun. Just like the band. If the band's having fun, the crowd's having fun. Same thing in marketing. Exact same thing. The sports world lost a great guy, Craig Sager, this week. Talk about being different. This guy was as different of a sideline reporter as you can get, and the guy was real. He once said, time is simply how you live your life. Just so much truth in that. And, we all have the same amount of time. Spend your time wisely. Learn from any mistakes you might have made in 2016. Get ready to do some incredible marketing and communications in 2017. The world really, really needs it. This is my last show of the year, as I said, marketing fans. I've had such a ball with you this year. I am really looking forward to 2017 and, keeping you up to date on the latest and greatest of what's going on in marketing communications. But for now, this is Scott Robertson signing off for May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Have a happy new year. We'll see you next year. Rock and roll. You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Entertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your